Hello, this is Steven Jackson with Imprintables Warehouse, and I'm doing a tutorial walkthrough for Don from Crazyware and Jill to show you how to use Corel Draw with the current JPEG images that you have that you've created in Photopaint and how to set up a cut line around it. So I've got Corel Draw open here, and all I'm going to do, I could even open a new document. You use the new document icon over here, or I can go to File and New. And once that new document comes in here, we'll right click with the mouse and do Import. And what we're going to do is import in that JPEG image that you had. So go to the desktop where I saved it, and I believe it was called ProRed. So we'll double click on ProRed and bring that one in here. Here's our JPEG image. And I can see, oh, I must have hit it twice there or something. I've got two different ones here, so I'll get rid of that one. And we've got the larger image right here. We see the image itself, 900 pixels at 72 dpi. I can see my properties over here. What I'm going to do with it first off is I'm going to rotate it so that I can get it in orientation that's a little bit better to work with. And you can see that this box extends way out on the sides. If I go to View and Wireframe, I can see that this bitmap has a lot of white space around it. So I'm going to use my crop tool, which is the third one down over here. You've got your pick, your shape tool, and then the crop tool. And I'm going to crop this a little bit. I want to not have as much space around it, something a little easier to work with. And there's my smaller image there. I've got nice and cropped, and I'll go back to my pick tool, and we'll go back to View and Enhanced. I'm going to put this on the center of the page, and to do that I'm simply pressing on my keyboard the P key. So P, and it puts it to the center of the page. And now I'm going to copy that image. I'll hit File, and Edit, and I can go to Copy, or I can use Control C. And I'll go down to the bottom of the page, and you see where there's this little plus symbol here. I can make another page, page 2. And now I'll do Edit and Paste. So I've got the same image on the second page. I've got page 1 here, and page 2 the same image. But we're going to set up our cut line on page 2. So on page 2 here, I'll select the image, and I'm going to use Corel's Trace Bitmap function. It's right up at the top there. Anytime it sees a bitmap in there and I've selected it, I can trace that bitmap. So I'll click on the Trace Bitmap, and we're going to go to an outline trace, and we'll call this a high quality image. Now what this will do is it comes into the trace function for Corel. There's a number of different previews I can do. This one's in a wireframe. I can see I've got a little too much detail. Some of these items here I don't need. I can do a before and after. It'll show me before and after on the whole item. Before and after in this one's fairly helpful because I can see that those white areas are something I don't need. I'm going to check delete the original image. I can give it maybe a smooth more, a bit more on the smoothing here, and have it redo it and get a nice vector image there. And I'm going to have it delete. I can specify the color I want to have it remove, and I'm going to click on here this remove color from entire image, and it should get rid of those spots in between there. Looks like it didn't quite get it, so what I'll do is I'll have it specify the color. I'll click on this, and that's the color I'm going to get rid of, and I'll hold down the shift key now and click inside of that there, and now it selected both of those colors to get rid of, and I have a nice image right here that I'm going to use for an outline. I'll hit OK, and on my second page now all I'll have is that vector. You can see the vector. I'm going to zoom in on it. I'll press F4 and it'll fill the whole screen with it, and you can see the different lines it made. When I shift back to page 1, you can see yours is nice and smooth, and it's a bitmap image that you created in Photopaint. But I can't get an outline around this very easily. So we'll go back to page 2 down here, and on this one we have here of the vector, I'm not concerned with how it looks. What I'm trying to find are the edges around the design. So I'll select the design by left clicking on it. I'll right click, and I want to ungroup everything. I'll hit the ungroup button right here. I could have done Control U also. And when it ungroups, you can see I've got all these different objects. It tells me 169 objects down here. That's fine. Now once I've got this selected and it's all ungrouped, it gives me the options to do weld and trim and all these other functions. But what we're looking for is at the end here, this one that says create boundary. It creates a new object that surrounds the selected objects. When I click on that one, it creates a line that goes around everything, and when I move that to the side, you'll see it there. See the line that goes around it? I can already see I have a little bit of an error right in here because it must have missed that portion right in there, but that's okay. We can fix that a little bit. There's going to be some areas that have some problems with this because it's not a perfect process. I'll hit Control Z to put that back. I'm going to press Control C to copy this, and then I'll go back to my first page and hit Control V, and now that line is around everything there. And we've got a color over here called Cut Contour, and I opened it up on your computer in Corel X5 when you've got the Color Palette Manager open, which we can get to by doing Window, Dockers, and Color Palette Manager right there. If that's checked next to it, it means it's open on the side here. This Color Palette Manager has this Roland Versaworks one, and that's actually a little eyeball symbol right there, right next to it. If I click on that, it goes away. If I click on it again, it comes open, and that's what we're looking for, is this palette here. So this line that goes around everything here, I need that one to have an outline color of Cut Contour, because that's what Versaworks is going to notice is recognized as a command to cut rather than a color to print. So I go over here and I'll right click on that Cut Contour, and as I zoom in I can see, I'll zoom in on this a little bit, there's my line that went around. You can see I've got an issue right here, and that's why I zoomed in on this portion. It's not right where I want it to be. So what I'll do is I'll go to my shape tool right here. This is kind of like Cut Studio, and when I click on this I can see all the nodes that it created there. All these extra nodes in here. I'll double click on here with my left click on the mouse, and I'll double click right here, and then I can select a bunch of these nodes and just delete them. We're going to get rid of all these guys here. Get rid of all these guys, and now we can take this line here and I'll right click on it, make it to a line. I'll right click on it again to a curve, and now I'll draw that curve in and get it where I want it to be just by left click and holding on it and dragging it in. So now that's right where I want it to be, and I fixed that whole issue there. I'll go back to my pick tool, we'll zoom out, fit it to the full page, and I can move this out of the way and see that yes, that's right where the line's where we want them to be. I hit Control Z and put it back. Now this entire graphic is ready for me to save as a EPS or encapsulated PostScript file and send over to Versaworks. So to do that portion now, on page 2 I don't need this anymore, any of this stuff right here, so I can right click on that and delete the page. Page 1, everything that I've got here, I can look at it again in wireframe, and we can see that I've got my graphic there and I've got my cut line all the way around it exactly where I wanted it. I could zoom in on different areas like this here, and I could double click on that and remove these nodes, make this a little smoother across here, maybe make this curve smooth or symmetrical. That didn't really work out for me, so I can play around with these nodes here. Let's try this. We'll make it to a line, and then I'll right click again and tell it to a curve because it's a little easier to work that way. And when I drag this out now, I get a bit smoother there, but it looks like I got a little bit of an issue down in here. So let's add a node there, bring this one up, right click on that, to line, right click on it again into curve, and we'll bring this guy in here. This one we'll right click and make it a cusp so it's not dependent upon the other one, and we'll smooth this out a little bit here so it looks a little bit better when we go to cut this. So that's nice. I like the way that one looks. Okay, so again, we've got our bitmap underneath and we've got our cut line all the way around. You can go around and adjust and clean these up however you want to by adding and subtracting nodes. That node right there is not doing any good, so we can get rid of it. You can spend a little bit of time on that and getting as perfect as you want. Let's go back to View and Enhance. I've got my entire graphic all set up. I will select everything on there. So using the pick tool right up here, I'll draw a line, that a little box that surrounds everything and selects it. Then I'll go to File, Export, and the export type I'm going to do is EPS, Encapsulated PostScript. We'll call this ProRed. Not JPEG, ProRed as the EPS. So ProRed, and it's got encapsulated PostScript. We want the selected only, or else it's going to take that whole page I was working in. We'll hit Export. On our export function, we want native color output as native. Do not check this button here. If it says convert spot colors, it'll take that outline that was called Cut Contour and turn it into a color, which we don't want to do. We want it to stay named as Cut Contour, so when it comes into Versaworks, Versaworks sees that as a path and will now cut it instead of printing it. So we're all set there. I'll hit OK. And now we'll go over to Versaworks. On Versaworks here on QA, I'll hit File, Add to QA. And we can tell right away, once I bring this in here, we'll go to the desktop, and we'll be able to tell, it was called ProRed, if it's got a cut line in it or not, because right away in special items right here, it's listed, it's got an A, and if I hover over that, you'll see it pops up and it says normal cut. Once I've got the file into here, I can click on my settings. I would get my media width. This isn't currently hooked into a printer right now, just for the sake of this demo. But we'll say you guys were 18 inches across for your working area. I've got it all there, and this is a big file. I could resize it here. Maybe I only want this thing to be 6 inches across. I can make it 6 inches across right there, and now I would have more room to add more of the design in. I can do more copies by clicking here and adding them in. I might rotate them so I can fit more along the line. This shows the orientation right there. So I add a couple more in there and fits in nice. I'll pick the quality, which is the type of material I'm going to be working with. Maybe this one's Solutions Opaque, or it could be Quick Print, whichever you're working with. And I'll check color management. We're going to use Prepress US. You're always going to hit Layout. You're always going to hit Quality. You're always going to hit Printer Controls. Yours will only have the top two. It doesn't have the bottom one, but you want everything to say default. And then under Cut Controls, I can take a look at this. I like to do this one a lot, to drop the operation mode down to cut only, to see if my cut lines, I can see those dancing ants or marching ants, whatever you want to call it. I can see that they're all there properly, and then I know my cuts are in the right spot and I don't have a cut going somewhere else where it shouldn't be. So I'll go back to Print and Cut. I may also choose to, I can hit Cut Image Boundaries. So if I click on this one there and hit Cut Image Boundaries, you see it put a square around each one of them that it's going to cut there for me. Makes it easier for me to weed and work with. So a lot of times I'll do that too. Once I'm all set with this, I'm happy with the way it's set up, I'll hit OK. And then I would hit Print, which will rip it, or Raster Image Processing, and convert it into a file that the printer can recognize. And then it will print it right after. Or if I'm just wanting to rip it, I can click on the Rip button. So that's a real quick overview of how we can work with one of the graphics you guys have and turn it into something from a bitmap image over to an item with a cut line in it and bring it right into Versaworks. So hopefully this helps out, and I will work on your other file next. Thanks a lot.